can murder a liberator, but you can't murder liberation. You can murder a revolutionary, but you can't murder revolution. And you can murder a freedom fighter, but you can't murder freedom.
You're tapped in, so let's get to it. So, the DNC, they were in New Orleans recently. And why they were in New Orleans, actually, it was to take a vote. And that vote regarded, or it concerned, whether or not Democrats would reject or accept a resolution to pretty much ban the AIPAC, that's an Israeli lobby, and other lobbies like it. Surprise and behold, they rejected it. They outright rejected it. They did not want to condemn the AIPAC and other Israeli lobbies in regards to their meddling and interference with American politics. These lobbies' main concern or interest evolved solely around the Israeli regime. All right. Now, these same members of the DNC, they are also the ones who vote to send money to Israel. Israel does not need money. Israel's pretty rich, but every year they get in excess of $33 billion. And that's not including other packets they may get when something comes up in Netanyahu and say, hey, we need some money, help us with this. And they'll send it right on over. Every year, Israel has health care. We pay for their health care, education, technology. Wow. And yet here in the United States, we don't have health care. We don't have housing. We barely got jobs. The economy is messed up, Yet the DNC, as well as the RNC, Democrats and Republicans, they both send billions and billions and billions of dollars to Israel, a rich occupying state in the Middle East. Every year. Now, they went and had this little meeting, the Democratic National Committee, and it was one of those meetings that was almost like a closed door session, and those who voted against condemning the AIPAC, their names weren't taken down. There was no roll call. So therefore, we don't really know who voted to reject that resolution. But they did. The Democrats did. These same people are saying to us, oh, Trump is messing up the economy. We don't have anything because Trump is ruining everything. Prices are too high, inflation, unemployment, no health care. And they're sending all the money over there, though. The DNC. I'm pretty sure the Republicans done it as well. But we're talking about the DNC, who seem to be up in arms about everything that's going on lately. None of them seem like they want to take responsibility or hold themselves accountable for this thing that is happening to the black vote, right? None of them seem, come on. It's all Trump's fault. It's all Trump's fault while they were asleep at the wheel. And a lot of these people are lawyers, constitutional lawyers and things like that. And yet they were unprepared. Their reaction to this is like Trump's reaction to Iran, thinking, or being surprised when Iran fought back, Their reaction is like, oh, snap. Trump doing, you're supposed to know better. Where's your plan? You want to criticize Trump for not having a plan in terms of this war and other things, and yet you do the same thing. The same exact thing. I don't get it. But yeah, as of May 2026, Kevin Martin is the chair of the Democratic National Committee, the DNC. He was elected to lead the committee on February 1st, 2025. All right. He succeeded former chair Jamie Harrison. Piece of work there also. but who previously led the Minnesota Democratic Farmer Labor Party, Martin. All right, now he is currently navigating internal party challenges regarding the 2026 midterm strategy. And I'm saying to Democrats who vote, people who vote Democratic, none of these people need to be reelected. None of these people need to be reelected. They were not doing their jobs. They aren't going to do their jobs. Most of these people, the majority of them, are hustlers. This is a grift. Politics for them is a grift. They get rich and they talk the talk, but don't walk the walk. That talk, oh, the American public is our interest, is our number one priority. Yet every year, tens and tens and tens and tens and tens of billions of dollars get sent to Israel. Have any of them stopped to think what that money could do for communities here in this country, communities that sorely need them? You know, inner cities, rural areas, all that, healthcare, you know, job creation, things like that. Israel is their first interest, you know, and AIPAC is a problem or the reason it's like that. But none of them have any integrity. I don't think there's an integral bone in any of them. All right. I just don't. So we have, like I said, the DNC leadership consists of, and that's as of 2026, Kevin Martin, who's the chair, vice chairs are Raina Walters Morgan, Artie Blanco, Jane Cleave, Malcolm Kenyatta, and Shasti Conrad. The secretary is Jason Ray. Treasurer is Virginia McGregor. All right. Now, let Martin tell it. His tenure anyway has focused on a 50-state strategy distributing funds to party organizations nationwide. What about an agenda, you know, also that caters to America and its citizens first, you know? This thing is crazy in that we see a lot of finger pointing. We see a lot of complaining and blame gaming, you know? None of these individuals in the DNC who are all up in arms and indignant about everything that's going on, none of them have done their jobs. So it should be no surprise to any of them that this thing happened. What happened with SCOTUS, the Supreme Court of the United States, passing or somewhat gutting provisions in the 1965 Voting Rights Act, Section 2 specifically, that there should be no surprise there. They've sat on their hands, and they're good for this. They wait for Republicans to do things to them. It's like they don't have the presence of mind to try to think ahead, be prepared, you know, have some type of preparedness, you know, for whatever gambit or game the Republicans want to play. They're never ready. You know, they were not prepared. And as a reason, or because that's such, it's the Republicans' fault. They aren't accountable. They don't want to be accountable for their slip up. They were asleep at the wheel. Now they want those who vote Democrat, Black people especially, to rise up. Let's protest. For what? What are you going to get? What's going to change? That decision is not going to change. There has to be something extraordinary to get that back in the courts and to have that majority of Republican-leaned justices to even look at the thing, give it the time of the day. I have a clip as normal, and I want to bring this clip in. I want to share this with you guys, and it is Ken Martin speaking about the DNC, and it covers, or it should address, that issue that took place in New Orleans in terms of them rejecting a resolution to condemn the AIPAC, which I think Democrats need to know is part of the problem why Democrats don't get anything done, because they're busy doing the work of the Israeli PACs. or the Israeli lobby. That's the problem. That is the problem. So let's get to this clip. Before we do, as always, please like, share, follow, comment, and subscribe to TAP, the Art of Political Discourse. Everyone who involves themselves with this, your viewership and participation is greatly appreciated. We like to thank you ahead of time. So thank you for that. Let's get to this clip. Interesting stuff. These people are something else. This is courtesy of The Hill. Yeah, the DNC rejects resolution condemning pro-Israel lobby, the AIPAC. All right, that's what they did. That is exactly what they did. And why they did it is anyone's guess. You know, I have a pretty good idea, but you know, you guys are pretty smart. Let's just hope that you guys are smart enough to not allow yourselves to be misled again by these same people. You know, the Cory Bookers, the Hakeem Jeffries, you know, Chuck Schumers, you know, all these people, they're corrupt, they're liars, and they are frauds. You know, they all are on the take for the Israeli lobby, especially the AIPAC, J Street, and others, for the betterment of Israel over these United States and the citizens who occupy them. All right, that being said, let's jump in here.
The Democratic National Committee votes against condemning AIPAC. The pro-Israel lobbying group has become a divisive issue among Democrats, but during a party meeting this week in New Orleans, committee members killed a resolution targeting the group. For more, we are joined by the Hill's campaign reporter, Caroline Vakil. Hey, Caroline. So what did this resolution condemning AIPAC call for, and what was the debate that we saw inside the DNC?
Sure. So this debate that we were looking at yesterday, there were a couple of different resolutions that were essentially being sort of thrown out there. One was condemning dark money broadly, and then there was another condemning dark money, but specifically calling out AIPAC. Now, the DNC Resolutions Committee, the way it works is that essentially you have to have these resolutions introduced into a committee, and if they are advanced, then they go to the full body today to vote on. But if they are rejected, it means they're not going to move forward. And so one resolution targeting dark money in general was advanced out of committee, but another one that was targeting AIPAC was rejected. Democrats are trying to say generally that they are against dark money being, involved in these kind of elections. But you can also see how AIPAC and the Israel lobby are turning out to be a bit of a thorny issue for Democrats.
Yeah.
And also, let me add that a lot of politicians, Democrats now, are coming out saying, okay, we won't accept any more AIPAC money, J Street, Israeli lobbyist type money. We won't accept it anymore for our campaigns or whatever the case may be. But that's just the tip of the iceberg, okay? What about supporting the Israeli regime, the occupiers is in Israel, when they want more weaponry to kill more women and children, more Palestinians, more Lebanese, more Iranians? What about then? Will you still support them? Would you stick, See, JPAC or AIPAC is only there to say, hey, we want your vote on this, make sure it goes through, and we got you. We give you donations, some type of sponsorship, might even give you, inside trader information, some type of under the table type of, agreement. Again, a lot of these Democratic politicians, as well as Republican, are very rich. You want to wonder, how did they get all that money? But, there that is, come on, think about it. They'll say one thing, but they'll do another. And the way politics are set up, or the way they've set them up now, they can tell us, oh, yeah, I won't take any more donations or sponsorship support from AIPAC, J Street, or the other PACs, Israeli lobbies. Yet they will continue to vote in favor of Israel's annihilation and genocide of Palestinians. They won't say, no, we're not going to send no more weapons, period, point blank. Work it out. They'll continue to aid Israel in killing off a whole population of people. They have no qualms about that. They have none whatsoever. And we know this because this is what they do. None of them have come out and said, Israel, there was this bill, they wanted to send, X amount of dollars. And I thought that would have been wrong. It is adding to the problem. It would kill more women and children in Palestine and in Gaza. So no, I'm against that. And I'm telling my colleagues not to, you never hear that. And you won't. You won't, unless we remove these people and replace them with people of conscience, with people with integrity who are morally right and correct. You don't have to be woke. Just be moral. Have some type of principle and morals about yourself. None of these people exhibit any of that. So it should be no surprise to the Democrats that they've lost footing and that their constituents are very upset with the support they give Israel over the American citizen. Should be no surprise to them.
What has AIPAC's influence looked like in Democratic primaries this cycle? I've noticed that they've used some kind of new technique.
And they are there. AIPAC is in most of the DNC's or Democratic campaigns and, elections. They pay to have certain people put in these seats of power for a reason. Cory Booker was one. Hakeem Jeffries. AIPAC and the Israeli lobby, they groom them. They groom them early. Hakeem Jeffrey told AIPAC, told the Israeli lobbies too, hey, how you want to get, blacks, to take up your cause? Don't recruit them in college. Get them before they come, get them while they're in high school. Recruit them early. Wow.
Techniques to try to influence these elections without directly announcing kind of who they really are.
Sure. So they're definitely been involved in the New Jersey Democratic primary for Mikey Sherrill's seat, who's now the New Jersey governor. We also saw this playing out a lot in the Illinois congressional primaries on the Democratic side, where they were actually using more shell affiliates. We didn't really know necessarily until afterward that they were AIPAC aligned, and they were also advertising on things that were not at all related to Israel or Gaza. Essentially, we sort of saw them getting involved in this way to try to influence elections, trying to, elevate more pro-Israel aligned candidates. And, in some cases they did really well. In other cases, it backfired.
Yeah.
Now, see, this is also an indication then of these individuals who were voted in to office and to seats of power, into our Congress, that these people condone or they are okay with the genocide taking place in Palestine, in Gaza. They are okay with the genocide of the Palestinian people. They're in office because of AIPAC and other affiliates. They're there because they were chosen. They were handpicked. And they were handpicked to be sure that that candidate would support whatever Israel wanted or needed. We got to start seeing the big picture, you guys. These people are corrupt. They are corrupt.
New polling from Pew Research finds that 60% of U.S. adults have an unfavorable view of Israel. That's up 7 points from last year.
That's good. That means then the people are waking up. We see now. We see the evil coming out of Israel now. We see Benjamin Netanyahu and his whole cabinet for what they are. Bunch of evil, murderous people. Again, this war that is being fought, the United States alongside Israel against Iran, is something Israel initiated and wanted. Told the lie that, hey, they're going to have nuclear bombs in a matter of days. We got to stop them. Trump bought that hook, line, and sinker, in spite of his top spy officials, intelligence, telling him, no, man, that's some hogwash. That's crap. In spite of the world saying it. Nah, that ain't true. But this is the same guy, Netanyahu. Netanyahu is not really his last name, but I forget what his European name is, but the same guy who started the Iraq war. Saddam Hussein has weapons of mass destruction. He told the whole Congress that. Everybody's forgotten that. And Democrats are still supporting this guy. What does that mean? They are complicit. They support this stuff. That makes them crooked. That makes them just as evil. We have to wake up, you guys. We have to come even more aware, because there's a lot more going on. And that's just not over there in that region that Israel has its fingerprint on destroying societies and countries for its benefit. United States is also one. It's on that list, people. It's on that list. And we have our Democratic representatives supporting these people. Something's wrong. There's a lot of corruptness in politics, you guys.
And 80% of Democrats have an unfavorable view of Israel. How Democrats handle this issue inside the party seems like it's going to be one of the biggest dividing lines for the party moving forward. What are you hearing from strategists and elected Democrats about how they're dealing with this, not just in the midterm elections this year, but maybe more profoundly in the Democratic primary that's going to happen ahead of the 2028 presidential election?
I mean, it's a great question. It's you're sort of seeing Democrats in the shadow 2028 Democratic primary right now trying to figure out the answer to that question. You've got some who are saying that they are not going to take money from AIPAC, or they are generally condemning the group. Then you have others like Senator Cory Booker, who last month said that they don't want dark money at all, outside money at all in elections, and would reject corporate PAC money. And so I think in some ways there's a bit of an awkward dance here, because you still have folks like AIPAC that are major players in Democratic elections. And so in a way, you don't want to ostracize them, but also you're contending with emerging public opinion, to your point, that this idea of groups that are not open to conditions on aid to Israel, it's becoming a bit of a divisive issue that way.
Kind of a double-edged sword in some sense, whereas you have...
I think then the American voter has to be the one to make that call, because if you leave it up to the politicians to make that call, as corrupt as they are, they'll lie to us. And they'll figure out a way to still get that sponsorship, those donations that AIPAC and other Israeli lobbies, present them with, these gifts and all this. They'll still find a way. If the American public says once and for all, outlaw that, outlaw it, and it becomes it becomes a felony for anyone who attempts to, do that type of business in our halls of power, where our laws need to be not corrupted, but they need to be as righteous as can possibly be, without outside influence, without country states or occupying states in other regions of the world ability to come in and change the will of the American voter by placing a politician in the seat to do their bidding. And that would go double for corporations. See, the reason why we're seeing this, where there's this resistance, I think, from the Democratic Party as well as the Republican Party, is because these people have vast sums of money. It lets you know that, lobbies as well as corporations actually pick and determine who the politicians will be. That way they'll have a better way of getting laws that, benefit them put into place. Man, this is great.
The opportunity to have a huge resource of money at your disposal when it comes to running a campaign from AIPAC, even if it's running kind of as a group that hides who the money's really coming from. But on the other hand, if voters see that you're getting money from an AIPAC aligned group, it could hurt you in a Democratic primary. Exactly.
I was talking to one strategist not too long ago who told me privately, there are strategists and Democrats that privately do not want AIPAC to get involved and are hopeful that they will stay out of it. Of course, you can't really,
That's wishful thinking, because the Israeli agenda is huge. They're not going to leave well enough alone until you shut that thing down completely. If you don't, they'll find an end to come in and corrupt the system. That's all that is. The system is corrupted by outside influences the Israeli regime. The Zionist regime of Israel is corrupting American politics and have been doing so for a very, very long time. And the United States isn't the only victim of this corruption, this manipulation. Other, Western countries, places all over the world are being, influenced or, manipulated to do the bidding of the Zionist regime of Israel.
There's a strict limits between where campaigns and outside groups can coordinate and communicate. But you have a lot of Democrats that don't want AIPAC to touch their races at all. And so you're seeing this becoming a testy issue. I should also point out there is a cracking coalition within the Republican Party too on Israel, conditions on aid. And so this will be a focal point to also watch on the Republican side too in 28.
There that is. And I think that's a good thing. That is a good thing, to remove outside influences, especially other, country states, influence, lobbies, things of that nature, corporations from the political process. Allow the people to do what it needs to do, what it thinks is best for the country. Let that be the voice in the decision, not the money. Because if we already see what the money has done, then the money will corrupt people. And we'll have all these issues in our country and around the world, quiet as kept. The system is corrupt. We have politicians who need to be removed from office. We don't need to allow them, do not vote them back in these seats. Go and find those candidates who will not touch Israeli lobbyists or any corporation that wants to influence an election. That's the way to get rid of this. That's the way to get rid of this problem. Those who are too deep in the muck need to be removed. Don't pull them out. Push them in the muck right on out of politics and allowing this new breed of politician, the people's candidate for real, the people's politician. These people are super rich and they are supported and sponsored by the super rich. Be careful, people. Elections are coming up. Do your homework. Find out who's getting money from the AIPAC, J Street, or any PAC, any Israeli lobby, any corporate lobby. Find out. Research the candidates. See who will take money and who won't. And that'll give you a grand idea about this individual's integrity and his or her morals. That's what's needed for the people who vote to do their homework. And don't leave it up to these crooked politicians to get it done or to do the homework for you, because they will mislead you. They will miseducate you, and they will lie and cheat on you. All right. So tell us what you think. Give us your thoughts. Drop them in the comments. Let us know where you stand on this issue. They say that over 60% of Americans are against what Israel is about and what they're doing in the Middle East. And not only that, the number is even larger in terms of just overall view and look of Israel. Wow, those numbers were astounding. 60% and 80% on two different polls that were taken. So yeah, that means then there is a consciousness about the American citizen. The American people are starting to see the big picture, which is good. But we're not there yet. In order to get there, we have to remove those individuals who are devices for, these lobbies, be it the Israeli lobby or the corporate lobby. Let's do our homework. Tell us what you think, whether you're with it or against it, if it's good or bad, or if it's okay that they receive money from outside influences or not. All right. Your content or your comments will be read, and we would appreciate each and every one of them. This is Tapped. Take care of yourselves and one another.
You can murder a liberator, but you can't murder liberation. You can murder a revolutionary, but you can't murder revolution. And you can murder a freedom fighter, but you can't murder freedom.